you obviously went to the wall with Cleveland. They said, at least it's what we heard was that they were willing to include some of the players that you liked in the deal. In the end, what was it that made you say that we just can't do this deal with Cleveland?
Well, without getting into specifics about players and details, we had to. I mean, if we're going to move a guy who's an all-star player and who's a productive player, we have to do really well. I mean, there's no reason to do something otherwise. The only reason we were talking about anything was because of Amar'e's opt-out at the end of the year. So obviously we are at risk of losing him and getting nothing in return. Mm-hmm. So the whole idea here the last couple of weeks was, let's find out what's out there. We'll evaluate it. If it's good enough and it helps us get better in the future, then we'll do it. And if not, we move forward. And what any team out there that called and what they offered was just not good enough.
Hey, Steve, Kevin McHale. How you doing?
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, I have two-part question, actually. Do you anticipate Amar'e opting out? And then secondly, what will you be looking to do to add, through the draft and next year? What do you want to add to this team going into next year? I know it's a long time, but as general manager, you start thinking about next year right after the trade deadline goes anyways.
Sure. Yeah, we don't know whether Amar'e will opt out or not. Obviously, it's his decision. There are 9 or 10 teams with major cap room. He would be a big player in the free agent market, so you have to kind of assume that he will, but who knows? As far as our team is concerned, we've been kind of rebuilding on the fly here, trying to develop our young guys like Robin Lopez and Earl Clark and Jared Dudley, Lou Amundsen, Channing Frye. So we've got a good core of players who we think can really grow together. But I think on the personnel side, we're going to need a playmaker on the wing, a big-time 2-3 type player here in the coming years. We're going to be a big free agent player in 2011 at this stage if we don't extend people and so forth. So we're kind of starting to plan the future and map that out. But we like our young group that we have together right now.
Hey, Steve, Sean Powell here. Sometimes, when you bait that hook and you throw that player out there, as far as trades, now you got to reel him back in. Can you just talk, first of all, is there any mending that has to do with, be done right now with Amar'e, and how's his head and how's his focus for the rest of the season?
Well, Amar'e's been fantastic through this whole process. If you've read his comments, he's been totally professional. He knows he has the support of the organization, and his teammates, Steve Nash, Grant Hill, have come out and said, boy, we hope we still have him at the after the deadline. So Amar'e knows he's well-liked. I think this was a really tricky deal because of the All-Star break last week. The entire national media descended on Dallas. They all talked to him. You got star players coming up to Amar'e saying, man, I hope you come to us and let's team together. There's been an awful lot of stuff that's been thrown at Amar'e, and I think he's handled it beautifully, and the team has handled it really well. So I don't anticipate any problems going forward.
Hey, Steve, along those lines, last summer, Steve Nash re-signed with you guys, Grant Hill re-signed with you guys, and they're veteran players, and they're not really looking to be in a rebuilding program right now. How much did that factor in when you guys decided not to pull the trigger on Amar'e? Because no matter who you bring back, they're not going to be as good as Amar'e Stoudemire has been for you. And for those guys that have kind of bought into what you're doing, did that factor in?
Yeah, it was a major factor because, what we've mapped out here, starting with last summer was, let's start to develop those young guys, the guys I mentioned, Lopez and Clark and Fry and Dudley. But we've got the perfect mentors in place to help those guys along in Steve and Grant. And then we've got a nice mix of guys in the middle of their careers, Jason Richardson, Amar'e, Barbosa. So we feel like we've got a really nice balance on our roster. And we thought we'd be a playoff team. And right now we are. We've had a really solid season with 27 games to go. I think we can make a push here and improve our playoff seeding and maybe do some damage. So that absolutely factored in. We're not in a totally rebuilding mode. We're trying to bring our young guys along and still be good here the next couple of years, and I think we can do that.